What's going on, everyone? This is Costi, and we're here with Tales from the Ticket, episode number 14. Hard to believe the summer is over, and we actually have real football today. And of course, with football, we have the football GOAT on the show, and that's not Eric. That is Big Al McMordie. So, Eric, we'll start with you first. What's going on?
I'm just ready to roll. It's hard to believe we are ready to roll. It is unbelievable. Tomorrow's August 1st, guys. It's crazy. I remember when it was the Super Bowl and bing. Al and I and you work daily 7 days a week. And, it's amazing. Did you ever think 46 years ago? I remember literally. So here's the funny thing, guys. So you can't see where I'm standing. I literally skateboarded to this office when I was 14. And I'm still standing on the skateboard 39 years later. I mean, time flies when you're having fun.
I started handicapping when I was 12, but never in my wildest dreams did I actually think this would be my career. I always thought I would, practice law or do something like that. And I did practice law, and then one thing led to another. And someone approached me when I was practicing law and got me into this business. But yeah.
So I know you're going to be in the show just for the beginning part of it, and then you're going to pop off. You got things to do. We wanted to bring you on for football. But one thing I never asked you this question off air. This is a great time to ask you. So I got in this business when I was 14 by accident. Prior to the 14, walking into this office at 14, Duke had to explain to me what a point spread was, what a line was, what a total was. So I'm a little tell me how at 14 knows nothing about sports wagering, and you are handicapping games from a betting point of view at 12. Where do you get the impetus at 12 years old to not want to be on your BMX bike, your skateboard?
Oh no! Look, at age 12, well, my father was a gambler, so he would come home with a gold sheet, and I was just like a big math guy and sports fan, and I wanted to. I don't know. I just began tackling it at that age. And
was your dad I always win, or would he tell you when he lost?
He was usually straight up, but he was also circumspect about what was going on. He wasn't like, you know how it is in the old days. You don't want your wife to know, all that kind of stuff.
So I'm curious. At 12 years old, what does handicapping look like?
Okay, so
paper.
Let me be more specific. I began betting at 12. I began handicapping probably at 13 or 14.
Let me rephrase it. At 13 or 14, what does handicapping look like?
Okay, so there was a DAX football notebook back then. I don't know if you remember the DAX football notebook, and it had the entire schedule of college and pro football games in it. And what I would do is I would take the point spreads out of the Pittsburgh Press. I would write the opening, and I actually would write them every day, Monday all the way. So opening to close. And then I would put the scores in, and then I would create systems back then, similar to what I do now, but it was pen and paper instead of computers. And, just like real simple stuff. I was looking at points scored. I was looking at how do teams react after, blowout wins, for example. The stuff that a 12 or 13-year-old might think of.
Well, interesting, because when you talk, like, for example, you come on a lot of the live shows that we have here, and you say, traditionally in the Pac-12, the home team performs X amount of times, and whatever it may be, a trend. Well, what I'm hearing is you've been living that since the age of 12. So you've seen those teams do that versus just your data.
Well, I've seen my data since the age of 13. Yes.
Same. Right. But you've actually lived it. It wasn't like there's data that you're referencing.
Oh, yeah. Like, my data goes back to 1980 in football, 1990 in basketball. The interesting thing to me as I look back, and it's striking to me that this was the case, is that I've always been a contrarian in the way I've thought ever since then. Nobody had to teach that to me. And that's one of the things I think that also separates people who know how to process information and people who really aren't as good. Anyone can look at data, but two guys are going to come up with a completely different team based on the same data. When I look at, for example, I had my interleague game of the year about 9 days ago when I went against the Milwaukee Brewers. They had won 11 in a row, and I had the Seattle Mariners and Logan Gilbert, and final score 1-0. Someone's going to look at an 11-game win streak and they're going to say, I want to bet on that team. Another person's going to look at that and they're going to be inclined to say, I want to bet against that team. So that's my example of sports handicapping is like a Rorschach test. We could both be looking at the same thing, but we're going to come out on two different sides. But I've always been bent that way since a kid, to look to go against the hot team and look to take the cold team. And I would say that's highly unusual.
Well, and Eric and myself are big components of basically marketing your product, the All Access specifically. And people always come back to me, and it's funny because this is a show where we talk about the stories. We talk about either the history of the game or actually the betting stories or the betting, false hope and false expectations that these clients may have. When I show them years of data, I know this summer you would give me a breakdown of every single star rating. You gave me a breakdown of every single play just last year. And then there was a year before. And then a client will tell me, well, I could buy AI picks for a fraction of the cost. And they've shown me that they've won 20 out of the last 25. And I'm like, you can't be serious. You can't be serious that this stuff works. And it's like that, overcome those objections. It's like people just, at the end of the day, it's like what you just said. One person can read the game and on one side, and then the other side, it's the same thing. When I give them the data and they could go, well, last year was this, but this year means there's going to be a drawdown because they're already negative minded thinking people to begin with. When you have 5 years of data, it's not like a couple games.
This is an aside, going back to what I was just saying, Costi, one of the things I did as a 13-year-old, and it's still applicable today because I just tweeted about it overnight. As I mentioned, I would put the point spreads in my, DAX football notebook, and I would compare closing line to opening line and look at line moves. And going all the way back to, 1980, you could make money by going against the preseason line moves. And last year, I just tweeted about it, last season, and I retweeted it this morning. If you compared DraftKings opener to DraftKings closer in the preseason, if it moved 1.5 points or more, the record, I might be off again, but like last year, you would have, by betting against the preseason line move, you would have gone, I think, 29-14 or 30-14 or 29 and something like that. It was crazy. So, that's something I thought and followed as a 13-year-old, and I'm, and it's still like last year, it's still working.
Were you like me calling the local score phones to get in my old days, we would call this, score phones, and like I would literally, instead of checking scores before I had the pagers, I would call the phone number to listen to the scores before the internet. You did all that, right?
Yeah, there was that. There was you would get the Reuters ticker on the bottom of the news channel at that time, but then you'd have the, Did
you get the pagers like we did? We all had
a pager. Yeah. You'd call, what was it? 1-900-976-1313. And
exactly.
You'd get the scores. And then there was various handicappers that had score phones like Steve Turner of Texas Sports Wire.
Steve Turner. Yep.
I don't know what happened to the pager, Eric.
Well, what happened? The pagers went basically out of business because of the apps. The score apps made them useless.
Right. And a question I asked for you, a lot of people ask me, obviously we pay for the screens. I've worked for decade plus. I worked out of the Las Vegas office, corporate office of Don Best before they got bought by Scientific Games. The average gambler is under the illusion that thinks they can buy like the screens and it's going to help them be a better better. And I really never understood how that was going to implement if you don't really know how to handicap.
Two different things.
Because when I set the alerts and it says key move alert or steam alert.
No, but that's two different things. Handicapping is not the same thing as betting.
Right.
If you want to look at the screen and if you're skilled at looking at the numbers and knowing when to bet and maybe you've got a slow book and other stuff, whatever. Right. But that's not the same thing as actually originating the game, picking a winner. It's a different skill.
Do you silence all your alerts on your screen? I'll tell you a funny story.
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you a funny story. So my son is 20, and I remember one week he would just not stop crying, and when he was a newborn, and I'm thinking what's going on? And I had the speakers turned up, and it was that stupid key move alert, steam alert, key move. And then I turned it off, and I'm like, oh, the alerts on it. Because, on a Saturday morning, it just never ends. Steam alert, key move alert, steam alert, key move. And what you would see is these guys, you could see the line mover, how they were betting both sides. What was interesting is Don Best would track it on their premium service. And at the end of the day, it would be 150 key move alerts and 75. It would be 75 and 75 at the end. Correct. Of the day. So
yeah, for me, I couldn't care less about any of that stuff. I mean, right. I'm handicapping my games overnight and I'm betting them as soon as I'm done handicapping. So I couldn't care less what the market is doing. I couldn't care less what the other sharps are doing. I couldn't care less what the public is doing.
I know our bookkeeper, Brett, is watching this right now because I sent him a link to make sure he knew you were on because you're never on the show. And so the question is back to that simple question, since this is more of a long form. I've never heard you say, cancel the bet because the line moved.
I have in the past. There was a game, Indianapolis, and it actually was very fortuitous. The Indianapolis Colts were in a playoff game, and the line moved. I'm going to have to pull this up to get the exact score. It was like a 45-43. It was a weird game. Hold on, Colts playoff game. Let me see something if I can find the game. 45-44, Colts Chiefs, January 4th, 2014.
All right. Well, I mean, before we were working together.
Okay. So I had the Colts +3 or whatever it was, but I only wanted them as an underdog. And this was a playoff game. And a lot of people had, and I had released it Tuesday, Wednesday, early in the week. The line significantly moved during the week, and I can't remember why, but it moved, and all of a sudden the Colts were now favored. And I had a tough decision, but I basically said, if you bet the game, great, we got our +3 or whatever it was. If not, we're canceling it. And I canceled the play. And then it landed in the middle. The final score, they went by 1. It was one of those weird things.
You're still talking about 11 years ago. I'm saying since recently, when clients ask me on a daily basis, hey, the line moved, and I already know the answer, I don't even ask you anymore.
It can happen. It can happen if a line moves so much that was unforeseen, because usually if it's foreseen, I'm not going to release it. If it's within, right. if I've got a point spread range that I'm looking at and I want a team at plus whatever, 7.5 or high or whatever the number is. And if the line is at 8, I'll probably hold off and just make sure I'm getting at least 7.5. But when it's that far away and, you just assume okay, this game's not going to move 4 points or 5 points or whatever. But it's theoretically possible that I can cancel a play, but it's exceptionally rare. Usually because I don't release it in the first place.
Here's a question for you, Al. Can Big Al explain his star ratings 1 through 10? What's the reasoning behind? Is there a specific type of game that you rate in a range, or it's just what's the reasoning behind it? With that, I mean, you don't have to give it all away, but
it's so I use systems, and I've got my favorite systems. I've got systems that are underneath those that are good, but not necessarily my favorite. So there are some systems I have that will always be a 7, 8, 9, or a 10. There are some systems that will generally be a 2. So it usually and that just depends on volume. If a system is, for example, 9, 12, and 671, it's going to be stronger than a system that is 18 and 4. If that makes any sense.
So basically, can I answer real quick, Eric?
Go ahead.
So the answer to a lot of people is it's not because Big Al likes the game more.
Correct.
It's the system itself has a range.
And this is hard for people to wrap their heads around. I give out games I don't like.
We know. I know Brett's laughing right now. We know, right?
Yeah, like it doesn't matter if I fucking like.
I mean, you just said in the beginning.
You're saying you don't like Pacific,
right?
Right. Like I'll give out games like that I might absolutely. It's not that I hate them, but it's just like I want to throw up before I give it out. But I still give it out because I know that the data are the data. So, and there are some games that, intuitively I don't like, but that's irrelevant, really. And there are a lot of games. The opposite is also true. There's a lot of games I might like looking at it, but they don't fall into a system, so I don't give them out.
Eric, sorry, I mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, for instance, like on the Super Bowl, we had that one client bet 500,000 on the Eagles, and then you had a 10-unit play ending the season on the Oak City on the Thunder, and then it's the same old story. That adjective, like how much does Al must really like that game when you put it, and I say no, it's not about like, it's about systems. And I think your record, you can correct. I think you what Costi, you remember, or Al might know, the 10-unit record was insane. I know Brett knows, but I'm just saying, like,
of course, we actually, I posted all the numbers on Al's channel, and it's still on there. And I'll tell you right now, the 10-unit record.
I mean, if you combine NFL, college football, college basketball, and NBA.
1 second.
The issue is
in the NFL, 2-1, NCAA football 2-1, NBA basketball 1-0, and college basketball 3-0.
8-2. Okay, I'll take it.
So again, for the client listening,
pretty good.
So we have a client in Florida who got limited at the Hard Rock Casino, and how did he get limited? He decided he was going to play nothing but those 10 games, try to walk in and bet 50,000 a game just on those 10 games. And after 5, 6 winners in a row, they were like, absolutely not. And so one of the things where people always have a problem getting limited, the volume actually can cover you from being limited.
Right.
So if you're going to, don't cry to me that you just made 60 grand on the first 6 10-unit plays, but you're playing nothing else. And then now they just got you marked. You're walking in with a bag of cash and you only did it 10 times. You're going to get highlighted at a sports book. And Al you are currently not living in a state where sports wagering is legal. So it's like the shenanigans that one sees here in Baltimore, Maryland, where if I walk into a sports book now, I mean, Costi just experienced it. Bet whatever you want when he's in Vegas, comes back, same sports book. Sorry, we're not going to give you your money, and you can only bet $20 a game. As we discussed with Micah several times, the sports book, you would think with millions of dollars in revenue, and they're always ahead and they're publicly traded companies, they would let you bet whatever you want. So as a handicapper, but also a math guy, Al, what do you think is wouldn't you think they would want more liquidity in the markets and not worry about your partner betting 10,000 a unit? Like, who cares?
You know, there's an old adage, you don't spend someone else's money.
Right.
So the bookmakers have the right to take business from whoever they want to take business from. And if they don't want to take business from me because I'm going to beat their brains in, that's their right.
But do you really think, I'm not going to disclose what you won last year, but do you really think that obscene number that you won last year put even a dent in the financials? No.
That's not the issue. I mean, I understand, look, it sucks for people like me. Absolutely sucks that I have difficulty getting down. I have difficulty getting paid when I win. And it's every single sharp out there has the same thing. But at the end of the day, bookmakers are businesses and they have the right to decline business from anyone they want. That's just the reality of it. And it sucks, but that's,
Well, this is the answer that I have to tell every client on the phone with exactly what you just said. Every client goes, well, why does he need to sell his plays if he is so good? I every day you just answered it. You just literally answered
No, I really didn't answer it the way I would want to answer it. But
well,
the reality is because I can make, number one, I'm good at it. People want my plays,
Exactly.
And it's no different than any other business. And just the leverage alone, like if there are thousands of people who bought my plays in one form or another last year, and I make a lot of money. And I should have the right to make a lot of money risk-free for being the best in the world. I mean, it's such an absurd thing that someone will say, that we don't have the right to, exploit our skill set.
Right. And it's an interesting business.
It's like people will be capitalist in every sense of the way, except in this for handicappers, it makes no sense to me.
Like Duke used to get shade. Duke used to get shade. They used to call up here and they'd say, well, if he's so good, why is he selling his games? Meanwhile, not one bookmaker from New York to Florida would take his bets.
Well, no, I mean, I mean, I had 6 books last year. Now it's down to 5. One of them politely declined to take my action next year. Yeah, no, it's, but again, there's a difference between, like, if I want to bet 10,000 a game and, make $1 million, like do very, 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 very well by also selling the picks. And again, it's I've got a wife, I've got kids. It's important for me to make a living, and I always tell my girls, when you decide what your career should be, do not do what you like, do what you're good at.
Exactly.
People make the mistake, they go, oh, I want to go into this thing because I like that. No, do what you're good at, because when you do what you're good at, people value the skill and they'll pay you for it. So if you're a good chef, work as a chef. If you're a good accountant, work as an accountant. But don't go into a business because you like something. You do what you're expert at.
It's growing up I don't know if you knew Mike Levitt here in Baltimore. He also passed away. He was part of the computer group.
He was a client of mine.
Okay. So him and
back in like 19, he went by a pseudonym when he joined.
Mike Lett.
Yes.
So Mike Levitt and Duke were tennis buddies. They would play tennis. They were competitive tennis players as there were. And his office was right up the street. And they were running. Mike Levitt was one of like the biggest runners in Baltimore for the computer group. And it was amazing because when he started selling picks because he got frustrated that he was getting stiffed by all the bookmakers. And it was like when I in every other walk of life, no one would say to somebody, if you're so good, why are you selling the product? If you're a good prognosticator in the stock market, you're a great analyst on Wall Street, nobody would ever say this. So I saw this like day one, because Mike Levitt used to come to the office and hang out with Duke, and they would bet each other thousands of dollars in their tennis matches and golf matches. And it's to see, and it's almost, I'm sure you're familiar with the word schadenfreude, Al.
Yeah.
Like rooting against people that are successful because you can't do the job. It's like, if you should be happy that you could subscribe and get Levitt's plays or Duke's plays or Al's plays. It's like, instead of saying, if you're so good, why are you? Now, obviously, I was a little delusional, and I plead guilty to thinking that when sports wagering became legal, because it was new here in Maryland, that my life was set financially for the rest of my life, because I was just going to be able to log in to FanDuel and DraftKings and BetMGM and Caesars, and I was just going to be able to bet all of Micah's games and all of your games and everybody. And then it was like that. I mean, me and Costi learned it took us 60 days to get limited down to $24 a game. They would never even ban us. They would just keep reducing the limit. And then I realized, oh, all this legalization is great. If you're a square and you don't win, they'll let you bet as much as you want, as long as you want. So,
well, I still think, Eric, the limits come from different types of bets, where people start to do player props and arbitrage and trying to do all that type of betting. You'll get limited much quicker. If you're pre-game betting and you're doing it one time, where you're just releasing it, you're not betting a game when the line keeps getting better over and over and over again, that you're in a different bucket with that sports book. We now know how to navigate certain accounts where you won't get limited as fast. I mean, that's the knowledge and experience that we've had myself over the last 15 years. You've been doing it for almost 40. So while Al produces the data for the picks, we know how to navigate the books better than anybody.
And for anyone that's watching this, since it is July 31st, you want to pick up the all access. We normally don't, we're not trying to sell you, but if you guys already purchased a premium product online, or you want to add to your service and get those ratings that were asked about, the 1 to 10, and you actually purchased the product, yeah, I wouldn't just bet those 10 games max bet and then call me and say, why am I getting cut off? One of the things, Al, because I know you're not going to be on the whole show, is why do you think most gamblers, your clients alike, my client, are like, don't want volume, and in their mind they have this dream of, if Al is so good, he should be able to pick one guaranteed winner a day. And I can just log in and bet 7 games a week. I've literally had CEOs of Fortune 500 companies that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars say to me, with all your vast connections, Micah and Al and all the syndicates, can you just get me one game a day I can bet 100,000 on, and I will pay you whatever you want? And you would think, with all the data and all the information, and I'm being facetious with the question, but where do you think that mindset comes from, the desire of just one game?
I think people want to limit their exposure and their risk. And so they're uncomfortable having, 18 bets out there because, oh my God, I could go 0-18. But if it's just one, they know that that's the most that they can lose, and there's a comfort around that. So I think that's part of it. But it's nothing I can do, because I might have 4 great bets on one day and 0 great bets for the next 4 days in a row. So it's, you can't, do that for somebody.
I'm sure you've had requests over the years of emails. Well, I remember actually when we originally hooked up, you had a client that would go to Vegas and you posted his tickets on Twitter. So and the guy would literally drive, I believe, from California, and he would just go max out. And I think that was kind of like his request, like, I'm going to Vegas, give me the game.
He this one client, he
50, 100,000 a game.
he put 200,000 on Ohio State over, was it Georgia? I think it was Ohio State over Georgia. That game that was, maybe it was Georgia won by 3, laying 6.5. Was that?
Did he win or lose his bet?
No, he won. He won. But he did like, yeah. So that game, I remember it was my college football game of the year. And he was like, I'm driving to Vegas. I need, and I hadn't even released it yet. And he said to me, this was whatever it was, 5-6 years ago. Maybe 4 years, whatever. And he just said, like, who are you looking at? He goes, I'm going to be in Vegas tomorrow. I need your game now. And I'm like, well, I haven't even released it yet. I says, but I'm thinking about, Ohio State plus 6, 6.5 or whatever it was over Georgia. Yeah, he put a couple 100,000 on it.
And that was by you saying, I think I like this game.
Well, he knew that. I mean, like, but it wasn't an official, like, it was going to be I was pretty sure. But he had to undertake the risk, if there's an injury or something happens, in between, because it was like, I think he had called me like December 9th or 10th, well in advance of the game. But yeah, it worked out.
And if it doesn't work out, we're all big boys. That's why I tell people, it's right. Like, I come across sometimes, I don't know about you, Al, everybody knows me. I'm like completely unempathetic when people complain about losing. Like, you can put your money in the bank and get like 0% on your T-bills. It's like, we're gambling, guys. We're wagering on sports. Like, this is a zero-sum game. Like, you're going to drive to Vegas. You're going to put 200,000 on a game and if it loses and you're going to MF them to death, I just have never been that type of guy that's going to feel sad for the client, because we're all big boys. If he's betting that kind of money on the game, he can afford to take the risk, or he can't, and he shouldn't be betting that money on the game. And well, that's on him. It's not that I am not human when somebody loses, but this whole concept of variance, Al, a lot of people claim they can handle the losing. But as you know, what I usually find is our largest subscribers, in terms of not what they pay us, in terms of what they're wagering, they get it. The Bretts of the world watching this right now.
Yeah,
and then the guy that's betting $100 a game is like freaking out on a 0-5 run. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't freak out, but I feel bad when any game loses.
The other night, what did you say to me? You said, sorry. I said, sorry. You lost those those CF.
We were 0-2 on Sunday, and I felt
calls me up, Kasi, says, sorry, I lost. Sorry? What are you talking about? Sorry. You're up 500 units, man. I don't want to hear sorry. Go to the next game.
No, I know. No, but the, when you're in my shoes, you do, you've got, because I calculated, like, there's $1 million or more riding on every pick I give out with all the clients I have.
Right.
And that's just with a small number. Like, that's not, figuring out what the average bet size is and everything. Like, you think about it, like, there's literally $1 million or more riding on, like, any game I give out with the hundreds and hundreds of people who are getting the plays.
So look, you can post that question from Seth regarding the $1 million a game, that last question.
What I don't know what you're talking about.
So it says, do the books monitor Big Al's picks? So if I'm betting them, they know I'm following his system.
No, absolutely not.
Too much volume out there, right?
No, it's yeah, no. I don't think the books give a shit about me. They give a shit about my client. They give a shit about our clients in the aggregate, right? But they don't like.
Yeah. I got one from Kelly here. Can Al share his Super Bowl Gatorade story?
If it's the one I'm thinking about. So I had a friend who was on the field at the Super Bowl, and this must be 5 to 10 years ago, because I was living in this house here, and my friend was partying with was it Justin Bieber's manager? Something like that. Whoever the halftime entertainment was going to be for that game, my friend was partying. And so he's literally like on the field in advance of the game, and he could see the color of the Gatorade. And I get a phone call like, can you get down? And so, you know, and it wasn't just that. It was all those goofy bets. What is the entertainer going to wear? You know, what shoes will he have on? All like it was color of the Gatorade. What song will be the first song played? You know, any kind of so it was literally inside information.
Right.
But again, you can't like get down big money. I think we made, combined with all 10 prop bets won, right? And I think we made combined across all the books maybe $5,000.
Right.
But it was, you know, because like it's $50 here, 100, you know, they're not taking major stuff. But it was hilarious because like it literally was inside information. And I was really nervous about the Gatorade because you're thinking like, okay, you know, like maybe there's two colors, right? maybe they only saw the one color.
What if they made the change on like game day or something?
But yeah, and it was like, it was kind of hard to tell. I forget what the color was. It was like either green or yellow or white, but like I'm colorblind and it all kind of looks the same to me. You know, and I'm like, did we win? Did we win with the Gatorade? But yeah, we won. You know, you had to wait for the
you couldn't tell when they poured the Gatorade
because, you know, the Gatorade colors, like the yellow kind of looks like green.
Right.
You know, it's not like, you know what red is, you know what blue is, blue frost or whatever, you know, but you know what orange is, but that yellow and the green, it's kind of tough to tell, you know, on a TV screen. So yeah, we went.
Is that the same as, did his feet touch? Did both feet go in the end zone? Was that a touchdown? Not, it's kind of like the same thing. You just don't know.
Yeah, you could tell the bookmaker, fuck you, it was yellow.
Fuck you. Right. I'm colorblind. It was yellow to me.
Yeah.
Brian Blessing, may he rest in peace. I used to do the show with him in Vegas. He was a big eyeball watcher where his handicapping was, he would literally record every NFL game. We'll stick to the NFL. He would record DVR every NFL game. And he was a Buffalo freak because he's from Buffalo. And he would like, we weren't allowed to discuss any games on Sunday. Like he would turn his phone off because he knew somebody would blow it for him.
He still owes me wings, by the way. Remember?
Right. And you'll collect them in heaven. And then then he would literally spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and rewatch every NFL game. And his claim would be kind of along these lines, handicapping. Let's say the total was 42 in a football game and the final score was 7-0. But I go back and I watch that game and I saw that each time the team got to the goal line, they fumbled the ball. Well, I know that the line is going to be skewed next week and everybody's going to be like, he would glean nuggets out of it for the way he handicapped. So what percentage, and I'm asking this rhetorically, do you need to go back and watch any of the tape for your handicapping for kind of like, oh, he was in the red zone 5 times and he fumbled the ball 4 times?
For me, 0%. I couldn't care less.
You don't need to watch any of the games.
No.
It's a very hard for the listener out there. That's like, wow, this guy doesn't like.
Completely irrelevant to me.
And we've seen it because when we were in Vegas together, there's not a lot of watching that Al was doing.
I don't know. I mean, I watch a game to see if my bet is winning. I mean, I watch a game because I enjoy watching the games, but I'm not watching a game to handicap a game.
Got it.
I mean, that's, you know, handicapping, the way I do it is different than the way Brian did it. And everyone's different. I know guys who do that.
He used to call it the eyeball test.
Well, he would, a lot of times, not to stick to football, with basketball, he would say, well, the total is skewed because the main guy had 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes of the game. So he was out. So he would, a lot of it had to do with second half betting, kind of like our other friend that used the pace system for second half betting. I mean, in basketball, at least from my understanding, it's much more relevant because players can get taken out of the game based on fouls, where in football, it's just an injury that gets them out. So it's cool.
There are, you know, so many different ways to skin this cat. You know, my way is my way. Someone else's way is their way. You know, everyone's different.
I respect this platform, PickDawgz, that does a live leaderboard. A lot of the sharps don't really bet the games for the same amount, so it's irrelevant. But the fact is, to have a live leaderboard every day gives you transparency of what's going on, because, and especially on PickDawgz, if you're just buying daily plays, you could even get a credit guarantee, which is incredible in this industry to be able to receive that. And there's a reason why they're the #1 sports betting community on YouTube. And this type of show gives our fan the connection of guys like you and the thought process, which makes them, a lot of people understand that like if you put the three of us together, we have over half a decade of experience, maybe even almost a decade.
A century.
I mean, a century, sorry. Century of experience, 40, 15. I mean, that is insane. Experience means everything in any business because you've lived it through all those years and you're able to not make those same mistakes over and over. And I feel like we've
Let me.
No, but you know what's, I mean, look at Ron Romanelli, 23 years old,
right?
Fucking amazing handicapper.
And imagine 20 years of experience, how much better his approach may be. You don't get worse. You only get better. I don't believe there's, and I'm not talking about handicapping individually.
Yeah, it's weird because I was actually thinking about that last night. Your knowledge is always increasing, always. Like, I know more today than I did last year. I'll know more, you know, what so your knowledge base is always increasing, but that doesn't mean that my record is always getting better. And there's variance and random, you know, and everything that goes into it. You know, one of the things you also have to do is you have to evolve as a handicapper, because what you might do in 1993 is not going to be what you're going to do in 2003. But yeah, so like, it's just amazing. Like, I look at a guy like Ron Romanelli at age 23 doing what he's doing. Is, you know, another guy, Jovan Burt's, great handicapper. You know, PickDawgz has a lot of really good handicappers. So it's a pleasure to be, you know, involved with the website.
Do you think, I don't know if there was a savant-like quality. Duke was a lines maker. So basically he would originate his own line before he looked at the newspaper, in the NFL especially. And how he got his name was basically local bookmakers started paying, hey, what do you think the line should be? So they knew how to move their line for the clients, right? So his original clients weren't actually people buying his picks. When I first started working for him, it was more bookmakers calling up, almost like subscribing to a line service or like a Don Best screen, right? But it called an audio screen. And he would put up the lines on the games, and you know, Johnny would call me from Pittsburgh, say, what does Duke have the line at today? And, you know, I would give him the line. But it was almost like a savant-like quality, where I don't know if you could do that today. Like, literally, he could look at the board at 1 o'clock in the afternoon before any of the NFL games started for next Sunday's games. And he could say, if this team wins, this will be the line. If this team loses, this will be the line. And he could just, you think it's just too much information now, that there's not many people that could do that right now?
I don't know. I mean, I think for the NFL, you know, there are people who are able to do that. You know, good luck trying to do that in college basketball with 364 teams. So, you know, you need computers.
Right. Yeah. Now, I know you said you were going to be on for a little bit, but hey, we're rolling. We're almost done. Is AI going to take care? Is AI going to put Al McMordie out of business instead of Al McMordie AI?
We've talked about this.
Listeners live, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to say it, and this is just my opinion. I could be proven wrong, but and there's assumptions when you're asking me the question. My assumption is you're talking about a public AI model that people can access.
Right.
Because if you can't access the AI, then what good is it to you? So can a bettor go on to whatever, ChatGPT or Google or whatever, and use an AI thing to find out who's going to win a game? Well, no. And if you think about it, because if a model did exist, it would be co-opted by the bookmakers. So it can't ever give you an edge on the bookmakers. Because if a model existed that's hitting whatever, 54, 55%, you don't think that information is going to be instantly usurped by every single odds maker in the country? So there goes the edge.
Yeah, I've been on that same.
Ask Grok who is going to win tonight's Hall of Fame game. We'll see what it says.
I mean, it's just.
Is Al frozen for us, or Eric? Do you see him frozen?
Yeah,
Yep.
Oh, here we go. You're back.
Oh, sorry.
Now, you know what? That was AI trying to block your answer.
Did my voice come through, or was I just?
Your voice came through, but AI was doing its best to block you here live on YouTube.
So you're right, because when you ask Grok, it's just giving you historic gobbledygook.
Right.
Without real-time data on lineups or game time decisions, it's a coin flip. Grok is not even, it's not. That's why the reason why I asked you the question is I've had several subscribers that join All Access lose lots of money on these fake marketed, I have an AI app, I have an AI service.
Well, ask it a different question. Ask it this one.
Okay.
Because it's not who's going to win the game. Ask it who is going to cover the point spread in the Washington Mystics Golden State Valkyries game tonight. I mean, I suspect it will give you a decent answer. Like it'll be pretty, it'll probably shock you about how good the answer is, but it doesn't mean it's going to win.
It's a good concept and a good topic to definitely discuss. But I've talked to many groups, and at the end of the day, you need that hands-on approach.
Oh, wow. Well, it gave me a book, by the way. It wrote a book, thesis analysis. And then it actually...
My guess is it's going to discuss injuries. It's going to discuss recent form. It's going to discuss a lot of stuff.
So it ends with prediction. Prediction. The Mystics cover the -4.5 spread, winning by 7 to 10 points. Predicted score 83 to 76. Their home energy, paint dominance, and Sykes' perimeter threat should outpace the Golden State's inconsistent offense. But prior to that, a whole 5 pages of
you know what would be interesting? This would make a great case study.
Okay.
There's 285 NFL games this year.
Do it on every game, see what happens.
What if? No, dead serious.
No, right.
Like think about you could write a book with this, because no one's going to do it, and you could literally go to the same Google thing, put in that exact same question for all 285 games, and chart it for the year.
I will,
and that would be it would be fascinating.
And I know what the end result's going to be, right? 50%, right? At the end.
But it would be fascinating.
I'll do it.
Let's commit to doing it.
I can literally have my son go through that and ask the phone the question and write everything down for me.
Have your son do some real work. Have him do college basketball.
But what we have to do, Eric, is we have to pick a designated time. The time has to be consistent throughout the week, so everything's uniform as far as how many hours before the game time we're going to ask the question and all of that.
Okay.
And let's commit to doing that study, and it'd be really cool.
I'm game for it. I was going to ask you, are you a big contest enter? I know Costy's, goes to Vegas and puts his money in for the contest. We were actually all in Vegas together at the casino last time. Costy ran up and made his $1,000 donation. Have you over the years?
Hey!
I get it. Have you over the years, Al, got into that? I mean, Mike has made some $800,000 hits, $1 million hits over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 2015. I won the mini contest in the Westgate, now the or maybe it was the Hilton, now the Westgate. The prize money back in 2015 wasn't as big as it is in 2025, which kind of sucks. Now they're paying out and now they have more than one mini contest. They've got 4 or 5 throughout the schedule, and they pay $75,000. And back then they only had one mini contest. It was the last 3 weeks of the NFL season. I went 14-1 and I made $15,000. I finished we finished 9th one year in it. My partner Scott Spreitzer and I. So it's I've entered the contest. I've made money. I'm ahead in my life. I've had, I think, 2 top 20 finishes. I won the mini contest, but to be honest with you, it's so impossible to win right now with how many thousands and thousands of people enter it. It's like you're not going to catch lightning in a bottle and be number 1 out of 7,000 entrants. It's just an impossibility.
You mean because they're going to have to split the number 1 spot because there's so many entrants?
No. Because to actually be number 1, someone's going to hit 74.7%. It's not going to be you. Right. A handicapper, you think of how good look at how good our year was last year. 1,600 plays, hitting 50, whatever it was, 56, 57. I don't know what percent, some ridiculous percentage. You're not hitting 74%. So, they're fun to enter. But my goal in the contest these days is to just win a mini contest, pocket 75,000. That's really my goal. It's not to win the whole thing.
And Al, you may have never, this kind of goes against your betting handicapping style, but do you remember when the DraftKings had the sports betting championship in New Jersey? We have a weekend with a $10,000 bankroll to max out your bankroll and the winner gets $1 million. Do you remember that? It was a couple years ago.
I do.
Well, tell them how Michael won the $1 million.
So this was it was either the second or the third year that they ran it. When they got there, the computers were down and they weren't able to use their mobile apps to bet on Friday night. So for those that don't know, you get a $10,000 bankroll that you front the money, and you have 3 days to do any kind of bets you want. And whoever has the biggest bankroll by the end of the weekend, I think it was halftime of the Sunday NFL games as the cutoff, gets $1 million first prize plus the amount of money that you won on your $10,000 bankroll. So Micah and the group, they actually had 7 bullets into the race, and the computers were down. They weren't able to use their mobile app, so they had to actually go to brick and mortar, but they weren't able to start betting till Saturday morning. So they were at a disadvantage from their mobile app. Sorry, the brick and mortars were allowed, but they were all mobile. So they start betting. They're already at a disadvantage when they come in. They actually got a free $10,000 entry, DraftKings making the mistake. So at that point, they were like, the only way we can catch up is parlays. So they had a couple soccer bets on Saturday. And then for Sunday, I remember it clearly. It was the Jaguars were playing the Bills.
Yep. And
they had the Jaguars plus the points and under the total, and their entire bankroll at that point Sunday in a 2-team parlay. And it was a 9-6 games where the Bills won. And they ended up, I think, making that point maybe a $200K bankroll from their original 10,000. They ended up winning the first prize. They split it between 7 people. And what I'm sick about is I remember them asking me, do you want a blunt? I was like, well,
you want in, buddy?
This is the one time I say no. I swear on my life. The one time I say no, it hits. Talk about being sick. Yeah, I mean, I was happy for him, but deep down, I was like,
that's like you're in the office and the 40 co-workers say we're going to play the lotto. Are you in? Nah, I'll pass it.
That's exactly that.
I'm always in.
It would have been an 8-person job.
Yeah, because you don't want the co-workers celebrating while you're still working at the job.
Oh my God. I just remember that weekend and it was like I was rooting for them, but and then they kept hitting, and then Sunday came, and the only way they were going to win is if a parlay hit. And they put it all in this. All of a sudden, the Jaguars show up, the worst team that year.
So, Costi, I'm looking here. The Westgate Super Contest, $1,500. That's not the one you did last year.
No, I do the Circa Millions.
Yeah, I do both. I do Circa. I do the Westgate. I'll even do the Westgate College football one this year.
And which one is the one where you have to put? Are they all the same? You have to put the selections in by Wednesday.
No, you can.
No. You're the lines come out on Wednesday. You can usually enter by Saturday.
Yeah, you could do proxy. You can go all the way up to Saturday.
So I think Mike always said you can get an edge when the lines move and they don't move, right? So
yeah, you can bet stale lines. You can
right. So basically, that was Micah's strategy. Like on a lot of you just hit all the stale lines.
But that's everyone's strategy.
Oh, right.
I mean, it's from a game theory, yeah, it's great. You're going to get the better number, but yet you're not going to be separating yourself from the other contest entrants.
And what about you ever do the suicide pools where you can only pick the game once?
And I'll lose the first week. Yeah.
I'm talking about, I'm like you. I have the worst luck.
It's not luck. It's just,
it's luck. Those suicide pools. I mean,
everybody's taking
it. It is not. Okay. Whether winning it, like I know people who are really good at those pools, and what they're doing is not luck. Like they're looking.
Oh, I agree. But I have bad luck for whatever reason, because I do the strategy. I map out my first 10 weeks. And it just happens to be that I take a big time favorite, not even a big time favorite, a spot for a team that I usually take early in the season that I don't expect to pick them with a tough schedule the rest of the way, ends up, being a 20-point, not an NFL, more like a 10-point favorite.
What was it last year in the NFL? The underdogs kept like the first, the whole survivor pool just got
you would know, right?
Estimated in the first 5 weeks last year.
Yep.
By the way, Frank Durasimo, hey Al, I signed up for a month last week and you have been hot. Great pick on the Cubs yesterday. Frank, reach out to me. We can get you on the All Access where you can get the games rated 1 to 10. Justin Berman asks, does Eric ever sit? No. I have a stand-up desk. Costi actually has a stand-up desk that he sits at. So I don't know why he brought
Hey. Family show, man. You don't have to beat me down. I use it sometimes.
But I do sit when I'm on the bicycle or in the car. Otherwise, no, I don't sit. I would say for everybody watching this video, if you want to do something that amazingly change your health, stand up 90% of the day. Al, we got to get you a stand-up desk. We just got to find one that's tall enough, because I don't think at the max height, you'd still be crunched over because you're so tall.
I like sitting. And I don't like bicycle riding.
We got to get you. I have a guy here that actually made the wheels for Shaq.
There you go. Ready? Because I'm doing this just because you guys are both on. This is perfect.
So, Al, you've won 57 handicapping championships. What makes you so good?
Well, Malcolm Gladwell, the author, he once wrote that 10,000 hours is what is needed to become an expert in your field. I've been doing this for 46 years, 365 days a year. I've worked over 100,000 hours. Combine that with the best handicapping database in the world, and that's the secret to success.
So for everybody that wanted to see the
there it is, guys.
There you go.
Well, Al, you said you were going to stick around for 10 minutes, and you stuck around for an hour. That's what we do. We have fun here.
You're killing me.
Everyone, thanks again.
There's only, as I look at the clock, there are only 10 hours left in the Christmas in July.
That's right. Exactly. So guys, reach out to us. You know how to reach Eric or myself. Definitely get signed up. We're going to have a big season. Volume City is starting very, very soon. And it's like this every year. It's the calm before the storm. So everyone, thanks again for joining us. We will be back here same time, 1 o'clock next Thursday with another episode of Tales from the Ticket. Any last words, Eric or Big Al?
Yeah, Al, you can hit me on the other unit. We can do the video when we hang up. Guys, we record 365 days, 7 days a week. I know you guys love the free picks. You love this service at premium. Again, reach out for the all access. Al is not going to push it like I am. 507 units last season. Call me. See you guys next week.
Yep. Have a good one.